Welcome to One Long Conversation. I'm Sonia.
And I'm Colby.
This is a podcast about spiritual awakening.
Yeah, and through that we talk about art, culture, conscious parenting, and healing yourself so you can express and freely share your unique perspective with this world.
This is a fun and informative conversation that we have daily, and we're sharing it with you.
Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoy.
All right, so I still, you know what? It's so interesting since I'm not used to hiking that much anymore. Since we went out for that big hike, I have noticed that because we did a little taste of foraging.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed that eating the clover leaves have helped to ultra relax me.
Interesting.
Yeah, I feel more grounded. You know what I felt? When we were eating the first one, it's not my first time eating wild clover in a forest. I just haven't eaten a lot of it. I didn't, we only had a taste today, but what I felt as soon as I put it in my mouth and began to chew it, and then, that vitamin C tart hits you. And I literally, because I'm so sensitive, I literally felt the energy kind of almost like I'm chewing it and I'm breaking into the cell, into the nucleus, and I could feel the energy start to just move outward as I'm chewing it and swallowing it, and I could just feel this burst of energy come into my mouth and just kind of permeate my body, and I felt more presence. Honestly, it was kind of like a psychedelic experience.
That's cool. Nice.
Yeah, because it was I had the experience of feeling oneness with everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to seriously get back into foraging. It's been a long time. I used to forage quite a bit, and just like I had shared, just over on the public path, there's an Italian plum tree that's hanging over the public fence, and is just dripping Italian plums onto the sidewalk. And is anybody picking it? No.
Yeah.
No, and they should be.
Yeah.
There's also apples over there. But the problem with apples is the worms get to them too quickly. That's what I learned about foraging apples years ago.
I ate them anyway.
No, I know. And there was, the ones that we found that were near Council Crest in Portland, Southwest Portland, there were 2 Macintosh trees up there. Those were taken out then. I don't know why the people took them out, but with apples, you literally have to harvest them before they're ripe to get them before the worms get to them. But it's easier with plums, I've noticed, but they don't seem to be quite as favorable with worms, I guess.
Yeah, plums don't last as long either, so you have a small window to get them.
Yeah.
Apples last a lot longer.
Yeah, it does. So, last week we were talking about taking action to get out of the system, move away from the codependency. I have since noticed a shift in literally in my field. The reflections back now since we talked about that, because obviously what we talk about is for us and we're sharing this with everybody else. I noticed then after we talked about it, we're planting seeds. And then what's brought into my field is some actual tangible discussions with people physically about creating solutions.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, of course, I take action, and I'm looking up intentional communities in this area online. And it's just interesting to see, the manifestation happening with this, because it's starting to feel more tangible to me.
Yeah.
That this is coming in. We can talk about it, but we actually have to take action with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that, it just starts always with talking about it. You have to make yourself aware. It's your intention and your action is what moves it forward. it's not like the universe moves it forward for you. It's like you have to intend and take action to make it happen. And so when it's a part of your conscious breath, that's when things start to move. That's what happens in 3D. 3D is about making things happen for yourself. And there's a trend in the religious and the spiritual world to wait for God to do it for you. And this is something that always leads to suffering. So in order not to suffer, you must take action.
I hear that. I see that there's actually, in my view, there's both actually. You are open to receive the steps that your higher self will show you, and then you talk about it to manifest it, and you start doing research. You start, knocking on doors to make it happen. And then when it's a part of your path that your higher self is bringing in, it aligns quickly.
Sure.
And then you can take action from seeing. You have to always be conscious in the moment to see the obvious clues and patterns that are showing you what the steps are.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. And then, of course, in my experience, when I see the path that I'm being shown, I see a tremendous amount of what people are calling angel numbers, which are angle numbers. My interpretation of that, what I've been shown, is that you're literally seeing the grid of the matrix. You're in alignment consciously with a grid pattern in the matrix. People think the matrix is bad. There's nothing bad about the matrix. We can't be here without the matrix. We can't be physical without the matrix. That's what I've been told. And if I see 333, like case in point, yesterday, when I was thinking about the next steps of action to take while I'm doing the system job of, all right, where in this area are we reinventing the wheel and finding our own land and gathering people together, or are we finding a community that already exists and seeing if we're compatible with the people? And where is this community at? And a car pulls out in front of me, and there are 6 2s on it. Now, clearly, this is a car owner that deliberately got the license plate with that many 2s. But as soon as I thought that, it was 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2. And I said, okay, I'm in alignment. This is a thought that I need to put more focus on and manifest this. So in my world, I will think that, and then I'll see the 3s. If I'm wondering, if I see the 3s, it's because it's showing me that I need to create it, because 3 is the Trinity, is 3D, is the creation. And if I'm wondering where I'm going to go for this, I'll see the 4s, the 4 directions. 4 for 4. I'll see 4 for 4 and 0 for 4 easily. And then sometimes I'll see the way shower code of 1 for 4. 1 for 4, 0 for 4, 4 for 4. If I need to change my focus, people think that change is coming into their lives. Now, suddenly we're not talking about angle numbers, but it's important because people ask me, what do they mean? If you're seeing 5s, people will sometimes think that means that change is coming into their lives. I've now been shown a different perspective of 5s. It's you need to change how you're looking at a situation. Change your perspective on this.
I have noticed some wild synchronicities with those numbers, but I find the most significance for me occurs when I remove any sort of idea or conception behind the numbers themselves and simply take it contextually on a context by context basis as to what the number is showing me.
Right, what you're thinking, and then you see the numbers. Yes.
Exactly. I don't really. In the beginning, I used to, kind of like go by what other people were saying, like, 1 means self, 2 is others, 2 is be mindful of yourself and others, 3 is creation, 4 is your path, 5 is change. I used to kind of go by that, and I had flexibility with that, but the way that they're presented to me, let me see if I can explain this. You decide what the numbers mean to you. The numbers aren't decided by something outside of yourself. You decide what the numbers mean, and when the numbers show up to you, it's because you call them to you, not because they were shown to you. So I came to that realization when I would consciously shift my awareness. I would say, well, let's treat this like a science experiment. Like, does this necessarily mean what I think it means? Let me see if I can change my perception. And I would change my perception. And then I would get, for example, like fives and sixes and like all sorts of combos in moments that were special, but the moments didn't necessarily relate to what the definition of the fives and the sixes meant. It was more so just a significance in that particular moment. I had gotten an idea or hit a realization. For example, I was driving back the other day and I had all the numbers piling up on me like crazy. Like they were just popping out. I saw all the combos. And this is more so how they're presented to me now. It's less like I get specific ones. It's more just all the numbers. And because the number is not the important thing. It's the synchronicity that's the important thing. Or at least that's what I've consciously decided, and that's why they present to me that way, is what I've learned. And I was like, I wonder why these numbers are like showing up to me like this. A license plate pulled out in front of me. It said, "Find joy." I was like, oh. So that's the message. The message is very obvious. It's that. And I find that removing the context or the idea of a greater power than self showing you these things was very helpful in me clearing out a lot of the muck and just getting to the core concept of what it meant. Because it's all about the moment. It's not about a definition. Definitions exist in the past. They're written by somebody else in context to their lives. And that's not relevant to us because we only have our moment that we're existing in right here and now. And so when we look at what it is that we're feeling and thinking, that's the important thing. Those numbers show up for me when I'm supposed to look at what I'm thinking and feeling. That's it. And, they only started to show up when I started to actually pay attention to them. So what this goes to show me is that my concept of past and future don't really relate to this ideology, and my concept of like determinism, like the idea that these things are being put into my path, that doesn't really align with the reality that I'm seeing. What it actually shows me is that I, the observer behind Colby the ego, is actually the one who is making the conscious decision to move through mirrors and portals on a moment-to-moment basis. And the things that I am observing are the things based upon those conscious decisions. Everything is happening all at once.
Yeah, yes, I align with a lot of that. And it's good to hear your experience and your perception on that. I have found since I was diving into angle numbers, and I like, it's actually Billy Carson who said they're actually angles because the angels are actually angles of light. Mm-hmm. I see the angelics, and I could say angelics just as a broad term for they are angles of light. Mm-hmm. Everything is geometric. It is a mathematical universe, and everything has a sequence, and that's how synchronicities happen, is based on mathematical alignment and the synchronicities of it. This is what has been shown to me. This is what I keep hearing. This is what keeps repeating in my field. And when angel numbers of the Joanne Sacred Scribes website, I think she's a New Zealander, she put out an entire database on her website. Mm-hmm. I want to say it was probably something like, and I don't have the exact date, but I have a feeling the first time I came across it was probably like 2009. She might have put it out there before then. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But that's when I want to say I can recall coming across her angel numbers site. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I was perceiving through 3D still, mm-hmm. even though I was in a reawakening process. I was in a process of broadening my consciousness mm-hmm. and coming more in the now. That was something that, it started as it does for a lot of us. It started for me with 1111, of course. And I have always seen 1111 as a be conscious right here, right now code. You're seeing the code of wake up, be present, be here, be now, be. See what you are, feel what you are, perceive here and now. Because the ones are the self. And 11's a master number. It was a number I was born under. And it is all about the self-realization and being authentically you in the now, which will change. Express that freely to others, be confident in yourself, and inspire others through your life. So I started seeing those numbers even more in 2011. And that was when I began going to her website to look up the numbers, because it was a new thing to all of us who were online at the time. And of course, the internet was a lot freer and open back then. I mean, you could find all kinds of stuff on there that actually was authentic. So that was an easy reference. And then those of us that found her site, we were telling all of our other, our friends, all of our people who are on the conscious path. And everybody started going to her site. I mean, that's how she got popular. I sent her site to everybody, all my students in my yoga classes. I was doing bodywork at the time, bodywork clients, everybody, yoga studio owners, everybody. And so we all made her site viral. And at the time, what we were experiencing with our own angle numbers aligned a lot with her database. But I then began to notice as the years go on, and I feel like it was starting in like 2015 when it wasn't aligning so much with what I saw with that. And I had already learned, I'd learned numerology beginning in 1987. So and I studied the Kabbalah first and then went into Chaldean system and Pythagorean. And I was like, they aligned with that. So that was another system that just really inspired me and intrigued me. But I noticed that it started to change in about 2015. And then we went to South America in 2016. And when we came back in 2017, it really began to change. And then I noticed that from 2017 until 2020, a lot of the times when I was seeing, and of course, we're all seeing the numbers, it wasn't aligning with her database. And I did some really intense meditation, and I was asking within, why isn't this aligning? And I heard, because you've changed perception. You've changed your perception.
Yeah, absolutely.
You changed your perspective. And so now you need to just notice what you're thinking and feeling in the moment when you see the number grid. And that's when I asked, okay, you just said number grid. What is this? You're seeing a grid in the matrix field. You're seeing in the sacred geometry of the grid that allows you to perceive being physical. You're seeing a grid pattern, and those patterns, they'll go in sequence. So you're going to see the same number. Remember, they all hold a frequency. So you're aligning with the perceiving of that frequency. I began to notice a pattern, and I was just noticing it because I've always driven a lot. So it's easy to see a lot of license plates. And there's no way that the DMV is going to be issuing that many 999s to that many different cars. Or
I always think that too. Or how out of all of the state of Oregon, they just all happen to coalesce in the area that I live, I'm like, wow, that's amazing. I can't believe what are the odds of that? The probability of that is unbelievable.
You'll see 0 with 4 9s on one car, 009 on the next car. Another car passes you, 090.
It gets even crazier than that. I mean, it's you only have what, like 6 to 8 digits available on your license plate? What are the odds that I have all 6 1s through all 6 9s available?
And then
like right next to me.
And then a car will pull up, car will pass you if you're on the freeway on your left-hand side, and it'll say something like the right way.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Sometimes it's like there'll be a message right there that's like written in plain text. I always find that amazing. Yeah.
Or I saw one once where I saw all these 5s and then all these 6s, and with the 6s come 1 and 0. Or we'll see 626 262 22222 66666 022 066, and then the car after that says life is flowers.
Oh man.
I really think it's my higher self just fucking with me.
See, and I think they're all calls to awareness, which I agree with you. That's where I came to, as I was like, after a while, my perception started to shift as well. And it was helping me get out of the boxes that I'd put myself in. Because I put myself in
We all
boxes.
do.
Yeah, absolutely.
We all do.
Totally. So in order to get out of that, it's more so, it's the same thing with every psychedelic trip I've ever had. It's like the moral of the story when you get down to it. Stop thinking so much. Just breathe and be in the moment.
Be in the now and have fun. And I've had a lot of license plates that I will see 2222222022220. Have fun. Mm-hmm. I'll get messages like that.
Yeah.
Have fun. Life is joy.
Mm-hmm.
And the big campaign, and I know that this is a bumper sticker campaign across the country.
Yeah.
But this is beyond that. This is beyond just people are now trending with this bumper sticker. It was like 3 in one day. And before I saw the first one, I saw just a series of ones. Mm-hmm. Then I saw the bumper sticker. And I'm doing the system job. And then like an hour later, then I see a series of 6s, the same bumper sticker on somebody else's vehicle. Mm-hmm. A couple hours later, all the 3s, and then the third, same bumper sticker on a different car. And the bumper sticker is do epic shit.
Oh, yeah. Classic. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was just like, and I see you see the second one, and I'm laughing really hard. And I was saying, oh, come on. You're going to send me the third one. Let's go. Come on. And what I'll say is, you're going to send me the third one, and the third one was prefaced with 6 3s on a license plate. For the third one, do epic shit.
Yeah.
I take a picture of all of them, and then I post them on Instagram. I'll post the pictures of do epic shit, and I'll post because I'm always asked to post these things to inspire people. Like, look around you. What are you seeing today? What's being communicated today from your higher self? What's the message for you today? Because everybody has a message every day. Because we want to. We want every day to be funny and enjoyable, and we want a day of epic shit. Mm-hmm. Of course.
You create it.
We do, because it's fun. And I've noticed that the numbers have changed their meaning for me. And in my world, they do have a particular meaning because I'm noticing the looping pattern.
Sure. 2s
for me mean to serve. When I'm doing service work, I see a ton of 2s.
Yeah.
And they're always the same sequence. 022, 222, 2222, and then 220. Always.
Yeah.
Always. And it's always when I'm doing some sort of service work, which is really all the work that I do. The ones are always coming up when I need to be more focused. The 9s come in when I'm thinking about a past experience.
That's interesting.
And the 9s will come in when I am listening to a spiritually focused podcast. All the 7s show up. And 7 is classically the number of mysticism, spiritual focus. Mm-hmm. When I am thinking that I need to get a different job and I start to fantasize about how money is coming in, all the 8s show up easily.
Or 4s.
4s for me, if I am frustrated with GPS and I'm literally yelling.
Yours is very literal.
Mine is literal.
Yeah, I don't have
my
that.
higher self likes literal. It's a Virgo thing. Are you kidding? In astrology, my higher self is a Virgo.
Yeah.
Virgo ascended. So I literally will, and I get mad at Siri because I work with Siri freaking almost every day, and I'm just like, Siri, you are so fucked up. You were told us you sent me to the wrong place, and then I'll see 444 for the 4 directions, and then I'm like, oh, that's funny. That's so funny. Why don't you just be an internal GPS and fucking whisper it in my ear so I don't have to use this stupid bot on my phone? And then I laugh, and then of course I always find where I'm supposed to go. Mm-hmm. But they're literal for me. Mm-hmm. Or if I'm thinking about what the next steps are that I want to take, all the 3s show up.
Yeah.
And then here's a pattern that I have shared with you that I am just literally, I haven't quite figured it out. I mean, I have my theories about what it is, but the 3 things that I see every time I do the system job, and it's, letters have a number meaning. They have a number sequence. I see KYN for Kyan.
Yeah.
LBY for Colby and NYA for Sonia. And I see NY, and I mean, come on. Like, NYA 8 times in 3 hours. Oh, you know, I've
that's a
counted
lot, for
8
sure.
times in 3 hours on on a Honda Accord, on a Ford Explorer,
Yeah.
on a Toyota Tacoma, on a motorcycle,
Yeah.
you know, it's a Harley. Then we've got a U-Haul truck, and then I've got a FedEx truck, and they all say NYA.
No, it's pretty crazy.
Come on.
I agree.
And I'm like, what's up with that? Why is it the last 3 letters? It's KYN. It's not
What
yin.
do you think? What's the context?
Kind would be yin.
What's the context that you're thinking of?
They just show up. It's
You said it's during a specific like thing though, or
No, they're very random,
Oh,
and they
okay.
repeat. It's a sequence, and I don't see like for Marissa ISA or ARS for Mars, or I don't see Mar for Mars, or I don't see my parents' name.
I feel like there must be some synchronicity that's like
It is,
that's there.
and it
yeah.
started last year, and it started with Kyan to the point where in one day of the system job, I'm seeing KYN. KY on one car, it says it's like 0 KY, and then the car right next to it is YIN. Or I will see KYW or YNW. I'll see all these variations of his name to the point where I texted him and said, I texted Kyan and wrote, "Are you okay?"
Oh yeah.
I did that twice, and it takes him forever, and then he gets back to me, "Yeah." He doesn't ask me why. He just goes, "Yeah." And then, I finally get back here, and I ask him, "Do you know why I'm asking you?" And he just goes,
That's valid.
he's such a 19-year-old too, and he's just like, and I said, "You're not wondering?" And he goes, "It's got to be something with the license plates with you."
Oh, that's so funny. Oh, he knows. Oh, he's got you down. That's hilarious.
And I said, "Are you trying to be telepathic with me?" And he just goes,
Yeah, I would say the answer is probably no. Just knowing him, I think the answer is no.
he doesn't care, and he doesn't want to be bothered. He's so funny. He's so obvious.
Yeah.
And so I said to him, What's going on with you that I am seeing your name constantly?" So he didn't get it. So when I had to pick him up from work, one of the very first times last year, and I took him on the system job with me, dragged him with me. He's like lounging in the chair, so bored, and then it starts up,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's KYN, and I'm like, "Look, look at that!" And he opens his eyes. He's got his arms crossed over his heart, and he goes. And I said, "That's what I see all the time." And he chuckled, and I said, "Don't you find that significant?" And he goes, "No."
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we saw it again, and then we kept seeing it, and we kept seeing it, and then I saw KYW, and I said, "Would you look at that?" Sometimes I'll see KJW too.
Yeah.
And look at that. And then he's like looking at it, and then I said, "You don't see it?" And he's like, "I do." I
I think it would be really interesting to have like a clinical study done to like specifically with this because the typical like the skeptic's argument against it is that it is what's the word? Confirmation bias. Because we have pattern seeking brains, and we can we can pick out patterns in just about anything. That's why that's why Rorschach patterns exist. Like a Rorschach,
we're looking for shapes and
a
things, like in the
Rorschach-
clouds.
The whole premise behind a Rorschach drawing is that it shows you what's going on in here, because the
I remember I've seen this thing.
actual drawing is just a ink splotch.
I was gonna say these are the ink blotches,
Yeah,
right?
so the psychiatrist pulls up the ink blot, and it's like, "What do you see in there?" And if you're like, "I see my bitch mother, dude," then he's like, "All right, well, we got our problem right there."
I see an elephant with a
yeah, but that's the whole point. It's supposed to point out whatever's going on in your
subconscious.
subconscious.
Yes,
And
it's the subconscious psychological
and
work.
and there's kind of the theory that the angel numbers thing is very similar, and what's interesting is that I actually don't think that those ideas are too unrelated, because I think that the observation of something is kind of dictated by the way that we process information. Like, our brains observe things based on what we view as important and what we want to see. And so that's like, I think that you could take those two ideas, that sort of like science and that spirituality, I think you can combine them. And I think that probably means the same thing. As the observer, we are the ones picking and choosing the significance of each moment in our reality, which is why I come back to with them. It's like, the whole thing is to be aware of that observation. That's why it's like, whenever I see those numbers, I'm like, this is a moment that I have to observe, because, there's something about this moment that I need to be aware of. Otherwise, I wouldn't have seen that. Which could be seen as it wouldn't have shown up, but it could also be seen as I wouldn't have chosen to see that right then and there.
Oh, absolutely. When I have read previously, in previous moments, everything is already happening right here, but your brain is perceiving less than whatever percent. I'm not so sure now that I'm in a consciousness anymore where I'm perceiving less than 1%, because I'm perceiving a lot more than I used to. But I know it's incredibly limited compared to what's actually happening, because my peripheral, will every once in a while catch an action going on either side.
Yeah.
And like, I know when there are spirits around me, I feel like I'm in a crowded space. And I have learned in my adult life to just start talking to them because they're there. When I walk on a trail alone, which I used to do all the time when I lived in Portland, all my guides were with me, and it was really crowded, and sometimes they would rustle the trees. It was very, very clear. And when I used to take people on walks with me, it was one of my favorite things to do in Portland, was have people meet me and go for walks. And there were many very perceptive people who would say, well, we finally got at the midpoint of the walk, and they would just look at me and look around me and say, you do know you have a lot of guides that are with you. And I am laughing, and I'm like, yeah, I know. Can you feel them? Oh, I can see them. Like, you have a lot of activity. This one guy that I walked with, I was on a date. We did a little hiking date.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh no, I can see them. And he said, you have a lot of color in your field. And he's like, you have got a lot of spirits and beings and like animals, and you got a lot of stuff going on with you. Like, it's crowded. I don't know if I can fit into this world. It's so crowded.
Yeah.
And he's like, you have a lot of energy. Like, you exude a lot of energy. And it's so interesting because he actually told me, I think we only dated a couple of times, and I wanted to become friends with him. And he said to me, I'm not even sure that, he was the only person who ever said this to me, I'm not even sure that you are actually meant for any sort of partnership in this life. You clearly have so much service work to offer. You have so much energy. You are like a walking star. I don't know if anybody could fit in with that.
Oh, wow.
And I remember, well, at the time, I don't know when, this was probably like 2014 or 2015. It was before we moved to South America. And I remember I was actually kind of hurt by that. I was coming from ego, and I took that a little bit personally. And I was feeling, because I was looking for partnership. And it was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be without partnership. But yet he had a valid observation.
Yeah.
He really did. And it's like, wow, interesting.
That is actually a really good observation. I like that a lot, because
he was honest.
Because I do notice that most people are not, they're not capable of matching that. Most people feel deprived of energy on a regular basis. We can attribute that to all sorts of different things, diet and all that. Those things all play a role. But there's a reason why, they feel stuck, and it comes down to what's inside of them first. Because, if they had an inner strength and inner energy, if they had that star-like sort of presence in them, they could make the choice to then do things differently and feel empowered to make their life what it is that they want to be. But there's a reason why they don't feel empowered to do that, and it's not just because of external factors.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but that's just like an example of what we were getting back to about all the energy that's actually happening
Sure.
in your world. And I know for myself, all of this is a movie for me.
Yeah.
And I feel that it is for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just this is my perspective of
Right.
putting this out here. In my world is a movie. I'm the creator of the movie. I find it very comical. I spend a lot of my day, every day, laughing. I have a really good time with myself. I am definitely my own best partner. Whether or not I actually ever end up with any sort of a partner, like it would be okay if I didn't. I would love to have one that's healthy, but if I don't ever, I'm having a really great time with myself. I have a lot of fun. I really enjoy like learning to be more conscious in the moment, and really seeing what comes out at me. And the more that I get in my body, the more that I am clear and here, and the more that I focus on being open to receive, the more the numbers show up.
Yeah.
The more that I see the play, the characters in my film, the doors that open, the synchronicities, the next steps that are, it's like stepping stones on a pond, the stepping stones, all of that. The more that I see that, which is really, where all of humanity is going to. I just find it interesting that I've landed here already, and it seems like many people in my world haven't. It's so curious.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think about that too. Why here and now?
I know, like, why are we seemingly more conscious about what's happening than many?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
Thank you so much to everyone who listened to this week's episode of the podcast. Feel free to check us out on Instagram at One Long Conversation to get some updates on our future episodes, our future content. You can also follow us on Patreon and become a member. We have a lot of interesting and awesome perks and cool ways to connect with us and our community that we're forming there. So go over to Patreon at One Long Conversation, and you'll find us there. We also have these episodes going out on YouTube now. So if you go to YouTube, yet again, at One Long Conversation, you will find video versions of these episodes. So yeah, thank you so much. We'll see you next time.